Welcome to today's episode on Azure Multi-Tenant Architecture. We will see what it really means and what are the components involved inside it. So let's get started. Imagine that you are living in a massive apartment complex where each tenant has their own private space, but they all share the building's infrastructure like electricity, cooling system, water supply, or internet. Azure works similarly, providing a shared platform where multiple customers can use the same physical resources at the data center level without interfering with each other. So the first concept is shared infra or infrastructure. Well, Azure hosts multiple tenants on the same hardware, maximizing efficiency and reducing the overall cost. The next concept is logical isolation, where each tenant or each tenant's resources or data are kept separate, ensuring privacy and security with isolation. The next component of a tenant is scalability, or the concept of tenant is scalability. Whether you are a small business or a large enterprise, Azure will scale according to your needs without affecting other tenants or other customers. Now, customizability. Well, tenants can be configured according to the organizational demand, according to their resources and settings independently. So each tenant may have a different configuration. They don't interact with each other. They don't influence each other. Now, you might wonder, how does Azure manage this setup while ensuring that everyone's data stay secure? Well, we can look into that. The first logic is logical isolation. Well, we already know that each tenant is logically separated from other tenants, even though they're using the same hardware infrastructure at the back end. And on top of it, we can put Azure Active Directory, or we can say Entra ID now. This acts like a digital security guard, managing identities, roles, and permissions for each tenant separately. Now, authentication is controlled by Entra ID, but what about authorization? So moving further, RBAC, role-based access control, can also be utilized. Here, RBAC only authorizes the user to access a resource if a specific role is assigned to that user or maybe the group of user. The next is resource segmentation. Well, here resources are grouped into subscriptions and resource groups, even helping organizations to organize and isolate workloads inside the tenant. So remember, this logical isolation concept is used at multiple tiers. And if we are talking about resource isolation, we can also talk about network isolation. Well, virtual network or VNet also ensure secure communication within each tenant's environment. So it is possible that a machine in tenant A can talk with a machine in tenant B, but you have to establish the connection first. So line of sight can be created here. Now, of course, there are both benefits and challenges to this setup. Let's talk about some of the benefit. Well, the first benefit is cost efficiency. Sharing infrastructure will lower the cost. Here, a lot of customers can share Azure's data centers hardware together, right? Even though isolation is there, but they are sharing the same hardware. So on the long run, Azure can provide the services at lower cost because the cost is also shared. The next benefit is scalability. Well, because we are all using the hardware at the back end in the data center, Azure can help organizations to easily expand the resources as the need grows or the requirement is actually growing. Well, it's a big pool of resources. And a lot of customers are using it, but still there's a lot of buffer area still remaining. So this is how Azure actually offers scalability. Now, the next benefit is centralized or unified management. Well, here organization can simplify their administration with tools like Entra ID, roles and administration, or RBAC, conditional access, and there are so many more tools to govern the identity. Plus, there are so many other tools to create or deploy resources. So that is also a big benefit of using Azure's tenant. How about resource optimization? Well, here Azure will ensure that the resources are used effectively, efficiently across the tenant. Now, what are some of the challenges? Well, the first one is security and isolation. Well, maintaining a strict data separation is crucial. Now, two or more tenants will maintain the isolation, but sometime organization might want inter-tenant communication to happen. Well, when there are multiple tenants and now the organization is creating multiple line of sights in between, maintaining a strict data separation will become complex, but not impossible. Still can be done, but overall security posture need to be increased. So complexity will go up. The next challenge is compliance. Well, here Azure must meet regulations like GDPR or HIPAA from US, although Azure makes sure that all the compliance are met, and Azure also provide tools to do that. Now when the organization have multiple tenants in multiple geolocation, let's say, managing compliance will also become a little more complex. Can be done, but complexity will still go up. The next challenge is performance. Well, here Azure will provide great performance as per the tenant, right? Tenant-wise, the performance will be really good. Sorry for that. But now, when the organization have multiple tenants and the resources are interconnected, latency issues, even network performance issues can actually occur. Again, can be managed, but the organization may have to hire some expertise to manage it properly. The next is customization. Well, balancing the shared infrastructure with the tenant-specific needs can be tricky. Why? Because one tenant might be handling the organizational resource, let's say in Canada, the other tenant might be handling it in a different country, let's say UK. Both countries might have different regulations or protocols to follow. Now, organizations have to manage their hybrid situation here, and they have to make sure that both tenants follow all the protocols, or I will say policies. Can be done, but again, it will be tricky. Now, in summary, Azure's multi-tenant architecture offers a cost-effective, scalable, and secure way to use cloud resources. By ensuring logical isolation, robust access control, and efficient resource management, tenant-wise. Azure creates a reliable environment where businesses of all sizes can actually thrive. But remember, when you have multiple tenants, managing your resources across multiple tenants will also be a little bit more complex. If the organization do it properly, then they will definitely be able to take advantage of Azure cloud services to be more productive. So I hope now you understand that why Azure offers multiple tenancy and how they keep both tenants or multiple tenants isolated. I will see you in the next episode where we will explore more Azure solutions or services. Stay tuned.